Oh, no. I found it. I found the single worst piece of media I think I've ever consumed. This is Top Tier Baylor, a Twitter account who put together their way too early odds for Big 12 football next season. Number one, Texas Tech, 25 to 30% chance to win the conference. I think those numbers are actually a little low, by the way. I have more confidence in Texas Tech. And number two, BYU. Those two teams winning the conference or being in the conference championship, that makes sense. I can see that. They have Houston in the top three. I would never put Arizona above Arizona State next year, even with Fafita returning, but then all hell breaks loose. Christian, they have UCF at 6. UCF still doesn't really have a quarterback. They have Cincinnati at 7, still doesn't have a quarterback. Iowa State at 8, they lost their entire roster. Colorado at 9, followed by Baylor at 10 and Oklahoma State at 11. And then they just left off the other 5 teams in the Big 12 Conference. There's just no Utah even on here. No Kansas State or Kansas even included in this. Can we put this down as maybe the stupidest poll that we've ever seen as it pertains to the Big 12?
Yeah, and this is a good chance to remind you that maybe you shouldn't always just focus and rely on AI, right? Like, for example, number 9 at Colorado. Who is Brady Travis? Who is that?
He returns. Some interesting things. He returns the quarterback, though.
He returns. Try Googling Colorado Brady Travis. See what comes up. Nothing. Tom Brady and Travis Hunter of things for the record. Yep. This is definitely wild. When you look at things, Texas Tech, BYU, it makes a lot of sense that they're number 1 and number 2. I think they would be preseason favorites if the media did a preseason poll. That would make a ton of sense. I'm sure Locked On Podcast Network, we're going to do some sort of preseason poll, and I would not be shocked if they're number 1 and number 2 when we all vote on it coming up this fall. But you're right. Look, I might be a little skittish myself personally on Utah upcoming this season just because of the coaching changes, but nowhere do I think they're going to be below 11th place inside the conference. And then you're missing Kansas State as well. Colin Klein, they're not going to be worse than 6-6 this year. And that alone is not going to be below the top 10. They're going to be competitive. I would even say they're going to be in the top 6 of the conference. I don't think they're going to go to Arlington, but they're going to be certainly competitive. There's a ton of things you can pull from this and just scratch your head on the worst take of all time.
Yeah, no TCU included in this either, or West Virginia. Yep. I think both of those teams can compete this year. TCU's perennial 8-4. That deserves to be somewhere on the list of top 11 teams in the Big 12 Conference.
Great bowl game without Josh Hoover.
Yeah. And I think West Virginia, by the way, will do what Houston did in year 2 under Willie Fritz and win a few games. Maybe they go 7-5 or 8-4 and surprise folks. Their schedule's not super easy, but they could. What I want to know, you're the Kansas State guy. They have the number 6 transfer portal in the Big 12 Conference per 24/7. If you asked on 3 when they compare the players who came in versus players that went out, K-State actually looks really good, top end of the Big 12. If we're talking strictly transfer portal, which today in college football, that's kind of what this conversation is predicated on, Kansas State's in actually a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I think they really are. If you look at Kansas State's transfer portal, if you're from Manhattan, if you're a Kansas State fan, initially you're heartbroken because you're losing some of the key defensive players in Austin Romaine going to Texas Tech, Chidi Obiizor, Toby Asusami going to the national champs Indiana. You're missing some of the ones that you were really excited to see what they could develop and turn into. And unfortunately, some of those are going to play on Sundays, but they will not get their name called in the NFL draft as a Kansas State player because they're going to transfer on. And then, of course, Jace Brown leaving to LSU doesn't feel great either. But the players that are coming in, it's not just from FCS schools or from anything like that. They're coming in from SEC schools. They're coming in from Big Ten. They're coming in from ACC, other Power 4, and from the Big 12 as well. Colin Klein did a lot of work to bring in the right pieces, and he didn't settle for just saying year 1, I'm going to just fill the holes, put a Band-Aid on this, and then slowly build up. No, he's ready to make this program prestigious right away. And I think that has a lot to do with the emotion that he feels about this program, the fact that he wants to bring the new old school back, that Bill Snyder years back, and what he did. I mean, the rebuild, the entire national championship run of Indiana, all they could do was talk about comparing it to what Bill Snyder did the entire time. Colin Klein is going to try and make that 6-6 record that Chris Kleiman left us as the worst feeling we have in the next decade for Kansas State. And I think he did a really good job at fitting in. I'm excited for what they do. There are some concerns, of course, but man, the weapons that they have surrounded Avery Johnson It's exciting. And I really do feel like we are going to see a breakout year from him finally. And it's the last chance you can do it, but I think we're finally going to see it, Drake.
I think people are missing in the Big 12 conversation how many of these middle of the pack schools like a Kansas State or a Utah, I say middle of the pack strategically for Utah, and honestly for Kansas State, I think everybody outside of Texas Tech and BYU could be considered middle of the pack next season.
I think that's fair.
For Utah, they might start 6-0. Like their schedule is a cupcake to begin the season. For Kansas State, Nichols, win. Washington State, win. Tulane, win. Cincinnati, that's a win. You're 4-0. And even if you lose to Houston, I mean, it's a home game. Even if you do lose, you'll beat Kansas. You're 5-1. That's a great way to jumpstart your season. Oh, and by the way, you avoid Texas Tech and BYU. The question for me would be, Christian, if we're talking about the best teams in the Big 12, is there a way that Kansas State, heck, is there a way that Arizona State or Houston are actually better than BYU or Texas Tech? Or does the conference run through those two yet again?
I think Texas Tech is still the one. I feel the same way I felt about Texas Tech this year than I did about Arizona State the last year. They are considered the favorite until they're proven wrong. And obviously Arizona State was proven wrong last year because of injuries. This year, Texas Tech feels different, though, because they know what was needed of them. The trenches were fine last year. They built up what they needed to do. The quarterback was the issue. Is Sorsby the answer? Right? He did a lot with less last year at Cincinnati. Now he's going to have the weapons surrounding him. Can they finally be that Big 12 powerhouse that they're hoping to be, that can actually make some sort of noise inside the college football playoff, something that the Big 12 has struggled with over the last 2 seasons? When it comes to, can anybody else compete with them? Maybe a BYU or something like that. Maybe Kansas State can do that. I don't think the expectation is Arlington, but I would not be shocked if they could find themselves, as you mentioned, 5-1, maybe even 6-0. I think that Houston game is very important, by the way, because look, 2 years ago, Kansas State started 7-1, and then they lost to Houston. The wheels fell off. That's kind of what the fall of Chris Kleiman and the belief of him happened. It was the Houston game. It's the Big 12 home opener for Colin Klein against a team that really kind of ruined it for the last coach. So I think that's a very important game that we're not really discussing. But speaking of that Houston Cougars, I think if anybody can compete with Texas Tech and BYU, Parker's going to love me for this, Connor Wegman and Houston Cougars, I think can do it. I really actually like what they returned. I think Willie Fritz is a hell of a coach. I love what they did in the portal as well. Their recruiting class is fantastic. They have a quarterback in waiting that is one of the best in the country. I really like where Houston sits right now.
Willie Fritz is, drum roll, please. Hold on. Wait a second. I never get to do this.
Do it. Love it.
Chris Kleiman.
Oh, I don't hate that take.
What? No. Yeah, man. Wins at the lower level, wins at a high level at the lower level, comes to a school, first 3 years, damn good ball coach. Does it last more than 5, 6, 7 years? Maybe not. But the first few years are pretty cool, man. Pretty good.
This could be the inflection point for Willie Fritz, because this is the changing of the guard, if you will, because this is Connor Wegman's last year. This is a big transfer portal for them, and he finally built a huge recruiting class. If it falls on his face, then yeah, I completely agree with that take. But if they take off and they get themselves to Arlington or maybe even farther this year, then I think he's surpassed the takes that he's a Chris Kleiman. He's above that.
Interesting, because Kleiman did that year 3, right? Arlington championship, and then obviously he was good. He's going to be one of the Kansas State coaches of all time. That's great. He did it fine.
Better than Ron Prince, and you take that all day. You take that to the bank.
Bingo. Yeah, Bill Snyder didn't have to come out of retirement again, and so you're going to be okay. Coming up, Jerome Tang. Is he going to payday or not? This is Locked On Big 12, Locked On Kansas State. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time's where I go, man, to get tickets to any and all events. What is crazy about Game Time is that I mentioned Bill Snyder. You can go see, like if Bill Snyder's speaking at a convention, you can go to Game Time and just get tickets, like search Bill Snyder and be like, oh, great, I can go meet Bill Snyder there thanks to Game Time. And with college basketball season right here, right now, and the biggest stretch almost here, Game Time gives you the advantage with constant innovation. Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets. Seat view before you buy them. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time. Do it today. Today's show is also brought to you by Bang. It's the reason I'm awake right now. It's the reason I'm awake most of the time. 5 Hour Energy. There is something about a 5 Hour Energy that keeps me going. Welcome to 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. 18 different flavors to choose from. The number one overall pick. With the number one overall pick in the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. Drake Toll selects strawberry banana. What? Tropical delight. Strawberry flavor. Soft, mellow banana. Smooth, creamy. I would describe it as like a fruit smoothie. Low acidity too. My tummy hurts sometimes. The low acidity is good. Gentle and a sweet aftertaste. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. Find your new favorite 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. 5 Hour Energy.